Welcome to the North Shore 9 Podcast, episode number 128. I am Ryan Alexander. Along with you, as always, is Anthony DiNardo. DiNardo, what
another
is
day, another
up?
dollar. What's up?
Yep. You do work on Sundays, so it would be another dollar.
That
is
correct
accurate
statement.
I did nothing today to try to make a dollar.
You're losing out, man. You're losing out. There's money out there. Go get it.
That's right. So we have transactions, DiNardo. This is the off season. We have transactions.
It's not lit yet, but man, I'm excited.
What up?
I am excited. Like, off season is here. It is official. Like, things can happen. Oh
Things
man,
are happening.
I love the off season.
Finally. So we got a packed episode here. So we're gonna do our second part of Trick or Treat. We're gonna have our pitchers, through the free agencies. We'll go through that. We're gonna talk the new hitting coach. Yes, we have a new hitting coach. We have actual transactions, sort of. I guess you could call declined options as transactions. And then we got a drunk segment coming up later.
A drunk segment. I love it.
With you guys can figure it out, but you'll find out soon enough. So, but let's jump right into it, DiNardo. The Pirates declined two options. Well, I guess you could say they not declined, but they also didn't they like outright Ryan Lavarnway, which I said last week. I was like, we're not even counting his arbitration.
Technically, we had 4 arb eligible. He was one of them. Now we're down to 3 because they said bye-bye.
Yeah, he gone. So they declined two options. They declined Jay Hayes, what was it, 10.5, 11.5? I don't know.
It
was
10.5, I believe. Yep. They 10.5, but a $1 million buyout.
10.5, I think it was $1 million. Yep, $1 million buyout. That was not the shocking option. We pretty much figured that would be declined. It made the most sense.
Shocked the hell out of me.
Which
there's the Pirates. Who's slashing payroll?
Who's upset? Who's upset that we're not bringing Jay Hay back at nearly
the people that
$11 million?
just have a narrative?
That makes no sense to me.
Anyone that's rational can look at that and say that's good. But, the other people that just have that narrative to say, oh, well, there's the Pirates slashing payroll. They're not a real team. I mean, no one's taking on Jay Hay for $10.5 million. We couldn't trade him. I mean, that was my thing. Like, if you couldn't trade him coming off of last year's season right now into this year, then you're not keeping him for $10.5 million. You're not giving him a raise on coming off of an even worse year.
And even if Jay Hay was even if the option was $4 million, did these people see Jay Hay's season? He wasn't good this year. He didn't get hit by the pitch 22 times.
Right. Now $4 million, I don't know. $4 million, it's just you might think of, but not 10.5.
Well.
I just say you might think of because for $4 million, that's just cheap regardless. And I mean, I think at $4 million, just the fact that he can play all over the field is almost worth that. And that's reserve money,
Well, so you say, at $4 million, why wouldn't you do it? Well, let's go to the next option. At $5.5 million, which was the option that they had on Jung Ho Gung, they also declined that as well. So. We talked about this last week, DiNardo. Had they gone out, Huntington was kind of hinting towards it. We might try to work something out with him, and come back at the right price that makes sense for both parties. But now he's a free agent. Anybody can sign him. And I'm not saying someone's going to go out and sign him to $8 million, but someone might sign him to a 2-year deal for cheap, where the Pirates might say, well, we just want 1 year, and see what you have. So, DiNardo, $5.5 million, it's a sunken cost, but it's low risk. Why wouldn't you pick that up?
I don't think there's really much need to explain. We've said this maybe 3 episodes already, in a row, leading up to today's podcast and this week's transaction to it. I just don't, unless my whole thing is unless you've already had these talks and you feel like you're going to get them on. But what I'm even hearing is the fact that they're going to try to bring him on for a minor league deal with incentives. I just I don't.
Someone's going to give him a major league contract.
People are out there saying that no one's going to take that on. No one's going to go ahead and go in a bidding war with Jung Ho Gung. Nobody's going to do this. Well, you never say nobody, and you never say never. Because
only
exactly,
takes one
there's
team.
one team that's just, waiting for the Pirates to F this up and pounce on it, And now that they've done it and they've F'd it up and he's out there, it can only take that team that just feels we can make Jung Ho. We get him back. We need this for $5.5 million. What is that really? The grand scheme of things, not much. If we get this guy to change the game for us and bring him here for $5.5 million, we'll do it. And now he's not a Pirate anymore. And you did that to risk $5 million. I get it. It's a money conscious team. It's a small market. It's a guy who hasn't played in 2 years. I get all the reasons, but it's $5.5 million with a $250K buyout. So essentially, it's $5.25 million. Is that? Yeah. To me, the risk outweighs that. Like, you bring him on. You have a need. You definitely have a need. Jung Ho could be that game changer. And if he isn't, Ryan, it's just $5.25 million. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
You rostered Sean Rodriguez for more. And your team was still above average. So now you're going into next year with more money available. You can afford this. To me, you can't afford to take the risk on that much money to let him go somewhere, and then he turns out being somewhat close to the old Jung Ho, and you missed out. Now, you're getting lit up, Pittsburgh. You think you've had bad days behind you before? You're getting lit up.
Yeah, we said this last week. If you want Gung back, just pick up the option. It's a guaranteed option. You have him. Like I said, it's a low risk move. You have him at that. So if it goes completely south and he's an absolute disaster, okay, it's sunken cost. It's $5 million. He's a free agent next year, and we move on. So I don't get it. And honestly, like, if you would have asked me in July, and I know we talked about it back then, with the injury that came up and everything that happened with him, and it was like, okay, they're probably not picking this option up at this point. But he came back late. He actually, had Major League at bats. He was back in Pittsburgh that last series, had a couple hits, and it looked like, okay, like they wanted to see him do it. They wanted to see him in the majors, and kind of see him firsthand what he could do against Major League pitching. And he was up there, and he had, it was 2 of 6. What can you say from that? But he did it. He was there. So at that point, you start thinking, well, they're probably going to pick that up because, like you said, it's that power potential, and that's severely what they need. And definitely, someone that could play. I know they said he's not going to play shortstop, but he could play third. So it's just, I'm a little miffed by it. I don't, I get it. The dude hadn't played baseball in 2 years. He had all the troubles. What happens if you pick it up and he gets another DUI in the offseason? Hopefully that's not the case, but I don't know. Maybe they sign him back for $1 million. Who knows? I don't know. But like I said, it just takes one team to be like, hey, Jung Ho, we'll give you $5 million for this year. And then the Pirates aren't, then you're out. So, yeah, so that one, if you want to say like, oh, the Pirates are slashing payroll and they didn't want to bring him back, that argument I could hear more with the Gung option than Jay-Hay's option. Jay-Hay's option at 10.5 makes no sense.
Yeah, I'll be honest. You're seeing more. You're seeing it weighted more to that side. It's just the fact that anyone, even though it was a few in a minority, anyone who was arguing that just boggles my mind. Clearly, you don't think rational. Clearly, you're not objective, and clearly, you're not intelligent enough to understand that. And that's it. So I'm sorry.
Yep, that's just the narrative.
That is what it is, and I'm going to call you out for it. If you're upset about the Jay-Hay, not being picked up, that option, then you clearly don't understand baseball and the way anything works, and you're not objective.
Right.
So, sorry, bruh.
Yeah, it's the casual Pittsburgh Yinzer fan that just, oh, the Pirates are slashing payroll. They couldn't bring Jay-Hay back. Meanwhile, you still probably think Jay-Hay is as good as he was in 2014 or something. So it's just, yeah, I don't get it. But the Gung, yeah, I thought I would have brought back Gung at that point. We talked about it to death. So it's not happening. So we'll see.
If they pick him up for $1 million and do all this, like, that's great. That it ended up happening.
Right.
That's fine and dandy. But I just don't take that risk. If it's me, I don't take that risk. That's the only thing. I just don't allow anyone else to have the ability to get him. And that's where we're coming from. When we said it before that we just don't see him in the future, it's just because the way things were happening, it wasn't on the team. We just didn't see it. But the Pirates just kept having him linger around. And even when he was out for the rest of the year, we just figured like his shot coming back was if he was able to come back this year. And with him, air quotes, being out for the rest of the year after the injury, you just assumed it's over. They're just going to part ways. They're not even going to be able to see him. It's done. But they still stuck with him, and they still allowed him to come back for those few games. And if you're doing that, that's what I'm saying. If you're doing that, then you still have some, some lingering feelings, right? You still have a maybe we want him back. And if there's that maybe... Yeah, I mean, if there's that maybe, then you pick it up. We thought there was no more of a maybe in the Pirates' point of view. Like, it was just done. We're cutting ties. It's over. And that's fine. So if you don't want to pick that option up, if you don't want Jung Ho, you don't pick it up. If you want him, you pick it up regardless. And the fact that he's still lingering tells me they want him. They're just not sure of how much, and that's where it comes. That's where they messed up. Doesn't matter. If there's a 5% chance that you want him back, you pick it up.
Yeah. And it would have been different had, like, right at the end of the season, like we saw, like, Eduardo Escobar re-signed. Like, had they said, all right, look, we're tearing the option up. We'll sign you back at 2.5 or something. That would have been different. But at this point, he's a free agent. So now everybody's involved. So
wouldn't you have that talk? Wouldn't you be like, we want to get you back for $2.5 million? So you would imagine they would have maybe discussed that. And if they didn't, like he would have said no to it. I just don't know. Like, either you didn't have that communication and that talk to see what would it take for him to just sign right now. Like, that's the whole thing. Again, like, this comes down to the risk. You're just allowing another team to come in here. Some team out there is going to say $5 million is absolutely pennies. Let's go take a flyer. When guys are getting Tommy John surgery, like Drew Smyly, and signing 2-year, $8 million deals, knowing that he's not even going to pitch this year. And it's all for the hope that he comes back and pitches next year. You're risking $8 million. Pineda last year, I think it was a little bit more than Smyly. Maybe $9 or $10 million I think he got from Minnesota. You're risking that knowing he's not going to play this year and hoping he comes back next year. Is that not the same as Jung Ho? And to me, Jung Ho's a bigger difference maker than Drew Smyly or Pineda. Maybe on the same level as Pineda, I would say.
Yeah.
$5 million?
But, you know who's picking him up, right? It'll be the Cardinals, and he'll hit like 6 home runs against the Pirates.
They're getting Donaldson, they're getting Manny, and they're getting Bryce Harper. Because they're a real team.
Yeah, they're a real team. All right, so those are the options. Both are free agents. So here we go. Add the 1.25 to the payroll, because that's the buyouts. But also, Donardo, the Pirates did add somebody, not necessarily a player, but they hired Jeff Branson's replacement here, Rick Eckstein, which as soon as I saw that name, I'm like, wait a minute, Dave Eckstein? But the X Factor.
Close enough.
It's his older brother.
I'll take it. He's close enough to somebody that can hit.
Well, that's what I figured. And look, it's David Eckstein's older brother. Rick had to have taught him probably how to hit, right?
There it is. The first case. I taught my brother David how to hit.
That was on his resume, probably. But, and so they hire the hitting coach. I mean, look, we tossed some names around, Barry Bonds and stuff, but I mean, this literally could have been anybody. So to sit here and like, we're going to try to break this down like we know Rick Eckstein is, we're not really going to probably do that, but look, he was in the Twins organization. I think he was their minor league hitting coordinator. He came in with the Twins' new regime. Falvey and Levine, which came from Cleveland, and they're more analytical, and everything, and trying to change because the Twins were so behind the times on the analytical. So they basically like redid their whole department there. But I mean, I don't know where you want to go with this, Donardo. My thoughts on it just briefly was,